Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Yahua, currently doing a PhD in Melbourne. Today I want to chat with you why I stick to my Chinese name when living in Australia, the joy and pain when living without an English name in a Western country. By English names, I mean those Angler names or common Western names that you hear everywhere. And to be honest, I had multiple English names before, and I will tell you how I got these English names in a moment and why I eventually made the decision to switch back to my Chinese name. Just like a lot of people in Asia, it's very common to adopt an English name, especially when you first started learning English. So I grew up in China, and when I was in my primary school, my first English teacher gave me my first English name, and he called me Lisa. Apparently, this usually happens when your English teacher randomly gives you a name. It's just convenient to use in a class. So I was Lisa for a while, but I didn't like it. Later on, I changed to Lily, which confused some of my classmates at that time. And then I find myself didn't really satisfy with Lily either, so I dumped it on the side and picked something else instead. I remember when I was younger, I have an electronic dictionary where you can find a list of English names by an alphabetic order. And I remember I always browsing the list of the English names and trying to pick something interesting and something look cool that can make myself stand out from other kids. So English names for me were like an identity playground. If I pick a new name, then there will be a new me. Fast forward to undergrad when I knew I'm gonna study overseas in Australia. So I felt the need to pick an English name that is close to my Chinese name. Let's say my Chinese name is Yahua and I pick Yasmin as my English name. Nothing particular, and there isn't any kind of relationship between these two names. Just because the first two letters are the same, so I kind of feel that Yasmin could represent my name to some extent. And I thought that having an English name could make my life easier and more convenient in Australia. So I was Yasmin for at least a year since I came to Australia, and a lot of friends actually knew me by Yasmin, and I kind of get used to this identity too. But there was a time I realized that I could actually go by my Chinese name if I wanted. One of my professors, for example, he patiently asked how I pronounce my Chinese name with the right tones. This friendly gesture made me realize that, oh, people from other cultures were actually interested in learning how to pronounce my name. But most of the time, I was still Yasmin and I didn't find any issue with it until a period of time I find that this name brought me more confusion rather than convenience. So what happened? Some of you might know that I was involved in a car accident and I stayed in a hospital for a while. When I first came to the hospital and people asked what's my name, so I told them Yasmin without hesitation because that was what I tell people all the time. But then later on, a nurse came to me and checked a band on my wrist which has my English name on it. And then she kindly told me that I shouldn't use an English name and I should stick to my legal name on my passport, which is my Chinese name, because in the hospital, people need to confirm your identity before they give you any medicines or do body checks or examinations, etc. Then I realized that okay, actually, different kind of occasions require different names, which I didn't know how to separate a casual from like a formal occasion, like in a hospital. Although it's a rare case, it made me realize that having multiple names might not always be convenient. And there was a time whenever I met new people, I even hesitated for a few seconds and wondering if I should tell them I'm Yahua or Yasmin. Maybe because I didn't really stick to any English names for a long time, and gradually Yasmin didn't sound like my name either. I just became so confused with everything in my life. But 20 to 30 years old is a decade to figure out who you are and what kind of person you want to be. It took me a long time to realize that my Chinese name is cool and I don't want to be anyone else. I just want to be me. So I started to introduce myself under my Chinese name since 4 years ago. And it was great. It's like embracing a new me and an old me at the same time. But there are problems too. Firstly, it's very common for people to mess up my name. I mean, Yahua is not even like a difficult name to pronounce, but you can't really expect everyone to pronounce and spell your name right if it's coming from like a different kind of language system. If people are like, sorry, I just cannot pronounce your name, then I'll probably know that whether it's worth it to interact with this person. But most people that I met are nice and they were patient to learn how to call my name. And the second thing is that since some of my friends knew me as Yasmin, I have to tell them I'm Yahua now. So it's like forcing people to change a habit they developed a long time, which is a bit troublesome. But a lot of my friends knew my Chinese name anyway, so it wasn't like a big deal. And the third problem is that sometimes you still need an English name or a simple name when you are living in an English-speaking country. Like if I go out to grab a coffee and then the barista would ask what's my name, I wouldn't use my Chinese name because it takes time to spell it. So a simple name or like a common English name would be more convenient. To be clear, I'm using the romanized version of my Chinese name, which is the pinyin of my name. And this version doesn't really represent the meanings behind my Chinese name. Meanwhile, I also changed the structure of my name to follow the English language format with a given name first and followed by a surname. This structure is more like adapting to the environment here, or else people would keep calling my surname, which is more like a formal way of addressing people, because people here, they would prefer to call each other's first name in everyday basis. But yeah, unlike my shortened English names, my Chinese name is the one that be with me all the time. I'm happy to live with this name and embrace my identity no matter where I live. I believe that choosing a name that you feel comfortable with is also a kind of self-empowerment. A name not only represents a person, but also their personality, culture, and heritage. So let me know in the comments, do you have a different name and how do you feel about it? And that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoy it and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!